There are many different types of speeders in Star Wars, and in this video I want to try to document them all, going from each movie and TV show listing each speeder, bike, or craft. So let's get into it. In episode 1 we are introduced to the single trooper aerial platform, or STAP 1, the agile and reliable craft that had limited firepower, but of course is seen all over the Clone Wars and was introduced in episode 1. We also get to see Darth Maul's speeder, the Bloodfin, which was a modified FC-20 speeder bike, and Maul stripped his bike to be fast as possible, removing all non-essentials, and the FC-20 was known for its compact design. And on Tatooine we also get to see the X-34 land speeder, which is typically known as Luke's speeder in episode 4. And then when we go to Coruscant, we get to see a easy ride passenger air speeder, which is also known as the Coruscant Air Taxi. Going over to Naboo, we get to see the Flash speeder, which was used by the Naboo Royal Guards, normally used as a quick and agile patrol craft, but could be used in combat as it was mounted with a light blaster cannon, and then the Gion Heavy Patrol speeder, which was also used by the Royal Guards in Naboo, and was normally used for crowd control and urban defense, as this one was mounted with a heavy blaster cannon. And of course in episode 1 it also introduces us to pod racing, and I wouldn't count pod racers as speeders as they are pod racers, and they are at least 5 times faster than regular speeder bikes or crafts. In episode 2 Attack of the Clones we get a number of different speeders on Coruscant, like the XJ6, which was a luxury air speeder hot rod that Anakin steals to chase down a Koro II all-environment exodrive air speeder being driven by the bounty hunter Zam Wesell, who preferred the dragster style and speed of the craft. And during the chase we can also see numerous comfort ride passenger air speeders, which was basically just a model of air vehicle that was used to transport people. And on Naboo there is the Burenko class speeder, or the Gondola speeder, which was an aquatic speeder used in Lake Country region of Naboo. And on Tatooine, Anakin pilots a Zephyr G swoop bike to search for his mother. And during the invasion of Geonosis, we get to see a Phil Knott speeder, or Geonosian speeder, which was used by Count Dooku, and it was a Geonosian model known for its speed and ease of use. It was also widely adopted across Separatist planets and the Separatist Alliance. In Revenge of the Sith, one of the first speeders we see is the F-143 emergency speeder, or fire ship. These were designed to provide essential disaster relief, and these speeders carried several tanks of firefighting solutions such as water, foam spray, and fire retardants. And in the background in Coruscant we can also see a DC-0052 speeder, which was nicknamed the Intergalactic and was an air speeder used by the Jedi Order to get around Coruscant. We can also see a Rian 327 air speeder, which is also referred to as a classic speeder. And in episode 3 we are first introduced to the Z-74Z speeder bike, which was used by the Republic and Empire, and it was the gold standard of speeders in the galaxy as it had solid speed, firepower, reliability, and it was easy to customize. We also get to see the Biker Advanced Recon Commando, or BARC speeder, and it was used primarily for scouting and escorting vehicles, and it was readily adaptable to various environments and missions, and this speeder was often used for planetary police forces as well. We also get to see a XJ2 air speeder, which was Bail Organa's personal craft. And then there is the Lava Skiff on Mustafar, where Anakin and Obi-Wan battle it out. And this last one isn't technically a speeder, but I thought I'd include it. And it is the personal wheel bike of General Grievous. You know, these have legs, so they're more of a walker, and have a mechanical motor for the wheel, so they don't count as a speeder, but was all around an all-terrain vehicle or craft. In A New Hope, we get to see a number of different speeders on Tatooine, like the T-16 Skyhopper. It was known for its high performance and stable and reliable transportation on almost any planet, and it was often the first craft that young pilots would take for flight training. We also get to see a 9000 Z001 land speeder, which had a unusual rounded pod design, and also an A1 deluxe floater which had a capsule-shaped land speeder featuring a pod-like cockpit as well. Both of these were very odd speeders and kind of in the background. We also get to see a V-35 Courier, which was outdated and therefore inexpensive and was more of a family speeder. And then of course there is Luke's X-34 land speeder, which I've already talked about. And we also get mentions of the XP-38 sports speeder, which was the upgraded version of Luke. And Rebel personnel on Yavin 4 were often transported on little transport speeders, jokingly called chariots. In Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, we don't get too many new speeders, but of course we are introduced to the T-47 air speeder, or as we know it, the Snow Speeder. It was designed for industrial cargo and was commonly adapted for combat duty, like on Hoth where those tow cables came in handy, and its wedge-like design and speed made it a very difficult vehicle to hit from an enemy's perspective. And we also get to see the Rebel Troop Carrier, which provided cover when deploying troops but was very slow on the overall and was more of a transport than speeder. And in the Return of the Jedi, we of course open up with Jabba's sail barge, or an LOKD-57 luxury yacht. And the two large sails were designed to protect its crew from Tatooine's harsh sunlight, and it had a large double laser cannon mounted on the upper deck and had several blaster cannons around it, and on the inside there was a banquet room for Jabba the Hutt, and also a chamber for audience members and his guests. Accompanying Jabba's barge were Bantha II cargo skiffs. These were extremely durable skiffs, making them a preferred choice for desert climates, and they were perfect transports for passengers, cargo, or slaves. These were often used by Jabba the Hutt and his criminal syndicate. And of course, I've already mentioned the 74Z speeder bike, but this is where it was first introduced on Endor when we get the speeder bike chase scene. In Episode 7, Rey has her own speeder made completely from scraps. We also get to see a Gion 211 patrol speeder, and this is where we also begin to see First Order vehicles like the Light Infantry Utility Vehicle, which was an assault craft used in frigid climates. And then in the background of Jakku, there are a couple Jakku Raider speeders. Episode 8 has one of my favorite speeders, the Ski Speeder, or the V4XD Speeder, and we also get to see a number of different speeders on Canto Bight, like the Zephyr GB134 speeder, which was used by Canto Bight Police, and we also get to see a number of different luxury vehicles on Canto Bight, like the Solar Nova TT86 and the Tri-Vanquish 7. And finally, Episode 9 has the 125Z tread speeder bike, which is kind of more like an ATV. And then on the same planet, there are some cargo skimmers like the Arun Skin 75D skimmer and the HS-19 cargo loading transport skimmer. There's also a sea skiff, which again is a boat, but why not include it? So those are all of the speeders from the trilogies. Let's get into the individual movies and TV shows. Starting off with Solo, where we are introduced to the M68 land speeder, which is considered a classic by street racing enthusiasts. Also on Corellia, the CPH Patrol Speeder Bike, or the Imperial Patrol Speeder, and a popular model across the galaxy, the AA4B Truck Speeder, which again was popular in small businesses for short hauls and deliveries. And of course we get Enfys Nest Swoop Bikes, the Halberd 441 and the Skyblade 330, and throughout the movie the AV-21 is of course referenced. In the Book of Boba Fett, we get some Kintan Strider speeder bikes, the Repulsor train, and Mayor Mokshai's luxury speeder, and of course everyone's favorite, the Grav Scoot or the Mod Scooter. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series features the FMR 385 cargo speeder, and the truck speeder again, but it also features the CSL 340 hover transport. And on Alderaan, we get to see their royal speeders. In the Ahsoka series, we are introduced to Sabine's speeder bike, which was a 614 AVA speeder bike, and we also get to see the Rev 2K personnel carrier and the Nodi's mobile houses, or the Nodi pods. Those are about all the speeders I could find in the Ahsoka series. For the Mandalorian, I think I'm just going to list off as many I was able to find. There is the 12 AVA speeder bike, the Zephyr J speeder bike, the K79 S80 Imperial Transport, there is Cobb Vance speeder, there is a Paimon Prowler 250, and a M350 land speeder or Navarro land speeder, the Trexler 906 Armored Marauder, the Skydop Pirate Skiff, the Hyperloop Pod, and the Land Skib. There may have been a couple of others in there that I didn't mention, but they were previously mentioned as speeder bikes, like the Imperial Speeder. I don't feel like I need to mention at this point. So there's a lot of repeat speeders in The Mandalorian, which makes sense. And in the Andor series, in Rogue One, there wasn't too many new speeders introduced, but it does look like Luthen Rael has his own unique speeder. And in Season 2, we get to see Wilmon's speeder. And we get to see Brazo's speeder. And in terms of the Acolyte, the Jedi Outlander was introduced. And the Skeleton Crew introduces a couple new speeders. All of the kids kind of have their own little speeder bikes, and there are also new pirate speeders. In terms of the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, I tried searching up every single speeder, and I think a majority of them have already been mentioned by now, but here's a couple I just want to name, which is the Jobin T85 speeder bike, or Ahsoka Tano's bike, and Kanan and Ezra also had T85s. There is Hondo Inaka's pirate tank speeder, the Bark speeder, and of course General Grievous has his own speeder as well. And in Star Wars Outlaws, the video game, there is the AA5 speeder truck, the K79 S80 Imperial Troop Transport, and of course Cave Vess's speeder, the S57 Cardinal. And again, there are a lot more speeders in both, well, I guess all three, Star Wars Outlaws, Rebels, and the Clone Wars. There's a number of different speeders, but those were the ones I was able to find, and again, most of them should already be mentioned. And in terms of Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, all of the speeders have already been mentioned as well. And Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order did not introduce any new speeders that I could find, so if there are any, please let me know. And then let me name off some final speeders: the Lothal speeder, the Jump speeder, a Fresco bike, the RGC land speeder, and Riot Racing speeders. And of course there is a variety of speeder bike manufacturers, but for the most part, two companies have dominated the market. The R-Attack Repulsor Company, which manufactures the Imperial 74Z, the 614 AVA speeder, and the 712 AVA speeder, alongside with the Republic Bark speeder. And Mobquet Swoop and Speeders manufactures the M350 Lamb speeder, and the M68 Land speeder, and the Zephyr G Swoop bike, and the Zephyr J speeder bike. And interestingly enough, the price range for about every speeder I named throughout this entire video falls between the range of 3 and 10,000 credits. Interestingly enough, the Imperial 74Z is one of the cheaper speeders at 3,000 credits, but that's because they were reliable and easy to manufacture and produce for the Imperial Army. While on the pricier side of speeders, the M68 land speeder, or the racing speeder, would run you about 9,000 credits. And there's a couple speeder bikes that were also around the 9,000 credit range, but again, unless you were pushing into luxury vehicles, 10,000 credits could get you just about anything you want in the galaxy. So those were all of these speeder bikes I was able to find. Let me know which ones I missed. Comment down below, and until next video, goodbye.